Hi team, welcome to the Business Analytics Competition Overview for our MSBA Tucson cohort. So we're really excited about this. It'll be sort of our second year doing it, but in a much more kind of structured way this year with you all. And effectively across multiple classes, disciplines. It's really a great way to kind of culminate sort of everything you've learned in this full sort of in-person term here in the fall and put it all together as sort of what a true individual working in data, especially in that kind of starting role, would look like. So let's just kind of jump right in terms of what you'll be doing. So we'll give you hard copies of this if you want it as we kind of go through. But what we're going to be doing, so it's going to be framed around this American Express credit risk business analytics sort of theme. You're going to be this emerging analytics professional like you are, and you're going to work as an internal team within American Express's risk management division, hence the internal use only tag here. So you're going to tackle sort of one of the more difficult things, right? You're going to sort of think about how do we make accurate credit lending decisions while managing risk effectively. And we're going to use data to do that. That's just what American Express does, right? They're big time users of data. The competition is going to present your team with real credit card data to develop actionable insights. That's really going to help, hopefully, with that credit assessment process, risk management strategies, things of that kind of nature. So you're going to analyze sort of a comprehensive data set containing lots of different information. We're always going to want more. But you'll see you're going to have two required sets of data. This first piece here, which I'm not sure why it's zooming out for you, where it talks about sort of it has some application material. Then it has this kind of credit record, which is an interesting set of data that maybe you haven't kind of worked with before. Then you're going to have how we determined good and kind of bad clients. So this is going to be the most important in the sense of your outcome of interest, right? So you're going to have to go ahead and move this column over to your other, make sure it kind of matches across there. And so sort of your objective, and there are a lot of ways to kind of take this, but where I want you to kind of think about and how you frame it around, and it doesn't have to be all of these, right? You can focus down one of these kind of paths. Think about future credit extension decisions, credit assessment process improvements, thinking about risk management, sort of strategy enhancement, or is there a way to kind of segment clients and target, sort of optimize who we give credit to or who we don't give credit to, things of that nature. So the executive leadership team has asked for three things. Number one, an interactive exploratory dashboard. So this is just going to be a dynamic tool where you're demonstrating data-driven analysis and you allow their team, if they want it, the opportunity to do the same. They also want a professional infographic that's just visually compelling and it's a summary of your key findings. And then, like most things, you're going to have to tell them about it, right? So we're going to have this in-person executive presentation that includes a compelling narrative supported by data insights and your recommendations that you have. So a lot of the rest of this is going to be talking through the various pieces that we'll kind of have. And so for your kind of data and required materials, again, I've already shown you, they've given you two data sets, right? They've given you this data set, which has lots of interesting things about them. And again, you're always welcome to create variables, things like that you think may be useful. They're generally pretty ugly, so they're coded ugly. You don't want these to show up in a presentation, so I may go ahead and, like we have in class, use AI, rename these to be maybe a little bit cleaner, more effective. And then on this page, you shouldn't need this. Now you can use it, but this is how we ultimately went and determined a good and a bad client. And so for this data dictionary, we have the status of it. So this is basically, what does 0 mean for this client? -1 mean for this client. Notice we see this client multiple times. We see them a lot over time. And so for them, it's basically, are they past due, or did they paid off the month, or did they have no loan, things of that nature. And so the executive team has gone ahead and created and classified these clients for you. So a second handout that you'll have is this, right? Your client status overview document. So this is what they've done. It walks them through it. I'm going to make you read, but it talks through like, hey, here's another definition of those variables. It calculated this score. It's called a warning score, and based upon how overdue clients were. And so a good client is someone that always reported off, paid off their loan, reported no loan, or had a late score less than 25%. Opposite of that is a bad client, and the client represents kind of the framework we're going to work around. Your project should remain on analyzing the data between these. The system is functional and based on sound business logic. Your team can identify potential limitations of the system or refinement of this classification strategy, but that is not the primary objective. This can be a secondary, third, fourth recommendation if you kind of get to that point, or you won't be penalized for not addressing if this is a good system or bad system at all, right? That's just something that's not a primary need for the group. And so you can read that to kind of see how they went through and got the good client. And so the client status, note the work in terms of how we did that and coded it up, I have here. You don't have to use any of this. Now, maybe you want to use auto apply bad. I don't know. There's 1,000 things you could use. I wouldn't use any of the counts. I guess you could use the warning score if you wanted. Number of months observed, that maybe number of months client, that may be useful, but don't use any of the counts unless there's a reason to kind of to do it, and it better be intuitive. But this right here is going to be your most important variable that you'll need to. I would probably just link it onto this sheet and then use this as your primary one. Once you do that, you can delete this, especially if your computer's moving slow, do any renaming, anything like that. So as we go back here, so I've kind of talked through all of those pieces that you have. Again, you can read. The last thing will be brand standards. And so we're going to follow American Express's. Note, it is old, but it's the most recent that we could get. This is not technically provided by American Express. We're just framing it around this. So for your presentations and dashboards, please also have the Eller logo on there. That way it's clear that it's kind of a partnership agreement, but you can read through it. It talks about the logo that you can use. It has our brand colors that you may need to use the, how do I say this effectively? The eyedropper or something like that to screen match, because I don't know that it looks, I don't know that I can tell it on the screen. I don't know that it has it on here. The two fonts, Guardian, Bento, San, either one, be consistent. If Tableau Public doesn't have these, again, pick one and be consistent with it. In terms of like your PowerPoint or presentations, they should have that, so please go with it. And then taglines, don't live without it, don't do business without it. You can use those kind of spread throughout. It has some issues with the logo, so being kind of careful with those kind of pieces. You can kind of talk about these. I'm not expecting you to go that deep into these, but it's kind of a best practice thing to kind of review how the logo looks, being careful with it, those kind of pieces. You make sure it should be good. Yeah, you shouldn't be doing a whole lot of photography and stuff of that kind of nature. All right. So it's really good to kind of see these pieces. Mock cards, faux cards. They're even as very, very specific as like rank them by order if you're going to use them. It has the different pieces with the brands, and yeah, I think that's kind of the key points. You can review these in detail if you want. We're not going to be super strict outside of like using the logo, the tagline, the colors, the font. Those are the big ones for us that we'll go through. Then if you want some of their digital assets, you could find them elsewhere, but also we have it linked where you can actually go in and if you want to use the digital logo. So I've done some exploring here, and it looks like you can only download the smaller logo that they have. If you find the other one, that's fine. Just make sure it does match what's kind of on there. Um, and then it has other things that you can kind of play around with their kind of digital assets and use. All right, so let's talk about deliverables with submission, due date, things of that nature. So if you're in the MIS 561 class, it's going to be a little bit different, but I'll be grading off of these. So you're going to have two primary deliverables that must be submitted to the shared box that we have below. And if requested, your other classes, just so we have kind of record of it. Please note, we do want you to have it reviewed by a member of the team. That can include, I would recommend one of your faculty members, but also we'll have student workers, GAs, kind of helping with this as well. All right, so the first one, professional infographic. This is due Sunday, December 14th by 11:59 p.m. So a professionally designed infographic that will be provided to the American Express executive team and the judges, summarizing the key findings. Here's the submission folder. I have to invite you all, so if it doesn't work, let me know. Again, only one member of the group. Please include in the file name your group number. That way it's easy for us to kind of see and tag those. We will print these off as hard copies, so it needs to be at max 1 page, and it must be submitted so you don't get disqualified. We've got to print it that morning to give to the judges. Then your executive presentation slides. So these are going to be due the day of the competition, so Monday, December 15th by 9:30. The presentation slides that your team intends to use. The deliverable must reflect the brand standards, include at least one of the provided University of Arizona or HSLopez School of Business Analytics logo. That way we have that kind of clear distinction that it's an academic kind of exercise. Again, submit it to this folder. The slide must include a link to your team's exploratory dashboard. I don't care how it's in there. It can be in a notes section. It can be linked to an image, just a way for us to see the exploratory dashboard that you're going to demonstrate to the judges. All right, and again, one member, please have your team name in there as you go through. The rest of the document is just help on those things. Right, and so for the infographic, each team will design one letter, has the brand standards, go through that. It's printed, it's meant to support your presentation and kind of help on those pieces. In terms of key components to include, we tried to make it so that they'll be consistent, but you still have some flexibility and freedom. So header, summary, any data visualizations, key findings. And again, I'm not going to check off like, oh, they only have 2 key findings. Oh, they have 5 recommendations. Oh, they only have whatever 1 visual, something like that. Again, like these are just suggested recommendations as we go through there. Remember, the goal of the infographic is not to replicate your entire analysis, but to communicate your most important insights and recommendations in a format that's both visually engaging and professionally credible. All right, you've already designed one of these in class, so hopefully that one's pretty straightforward. Then the overview for this interactive exploratory dashboard. And here's where we're going to be a little bit careful. So the only requirement is an exploratory dashboard. So you're going to develop an interactive exploratory dashboard that shows American Express interesting things, right? Allows them to kind of go through and explore. It's going to be demonstrated during your executive presentation and must be accessible via a web link and included in your presentation slides, right? It doesn't have to be ugly. You don't have to hyperlink it in there, but find a way to include it. It should just allow you to show off how you basically went through and maybe identified some patterns as you went through. Your data must reflect, again, American Express brand standards. Please include an Eller / HSLopez logo in there. So again, we recognize an academic exercise. And then for the dashboard, again, just to help you kind of checklist of ways to think, you can have an overview and landing page that just like is American Express, and then you click to it, maybe with buttons or even a story. It's up to you. It doesn't have to be, right? It can go right to that exploratory dashboard. Again, there's no set guideline in the business world, as long as you kind of provide the deliverable. And then breakdowns, thinking about how to segment good versus bad clients, filters, um, maybe some actions. It's kind of up to you and kind of what you go through. If you're looking for risk factors, things that predict good versus bad, if you're going to do some econometric analysis on the data or modeling, it's harder to show that in visualization, but you may be able to create it and find ways. It should have interactive filters and controls just because it is exploratory. If there are any key insights, again, exploratory, you're not supposed to have a whole lot of this, but if you want to use text boxes or something like that and pull outs, you can. What I would do is, just because I only require an exploratory dashboard doesn't mean you can't build an explanatory dashboard or two or three that have kind of key insights, because then you could pull those image into your presentation, into your infographic, and highlight that piece after you show them this exploratory dashboard and kind of how you got there. Now, you could go the opposite and show them the key outcome in the data and then flip it and then kind of show them how you got there. It's up to you. That's kind of your storytelling decision that you get to make. But I wanted to put that on there so we could talk about it and think about it. The goal of it, right? Review it, right? Tell a story, demonstrate your depth of understanding, support decision making, highlight key patterns, and then ultimately allow self-exploration if the group wants to after. Okay, so last required piece, right, is the executive presentation. So each team's going to deliver a 15 to 20 minute. At 20 minutes and 1 second, I will cut you off, right? Exercise in following sort of instructions here. After that 20 minutes, we're going to open it up with 5 additional minutes of questions. It must include things like your analytical approach, key findings from both exploratory and any statistical analysis of the base, demonstrate the interactive dashboard, and then provide things to do next, right, related to this. Strictly limited, it is going to be business professional. It's the end of the semester. We're going to celebrate it all being over afterwards. So be kind of prepared for that piece. Be prepared for Q&A. It should be a relatively actually large audience asking questions from very, very diverse background as you kind of go through. Again, to help you, here are key points that we suggest you address. Introduction, remind them of the data. A lot of the executives don't know it, so you may have to do a minute or two of describing the data set, highlighting key pieces, talk about the exploratory data analysis, dashboard demonstration. This can also include, I should have in here, statistical models and insights. Any key insights, important things of that nature, recommendations. Again, you don't have to tag them all here, but they should be framed around this. Conclusion, questions. We also have sort of a checklist for the presentation in terms of clarity, visual appeal, all these things that you can kind of check off as you go through and you kind of prepare to do that. Okay, last thing, key dates. It'll launch no later than Monday, November 24th. Then you'll have till December 14th to work on things. We'll have set aside office hours for both classes, additional time, student workers, things of that'll come in announcement. The big day will be Sunday the 14th. Make sure that infographic is submitted. Then the 15th, slides are at 9:30, and then the presentations are at 10, right? It gives me 30 minutes to load them up into there. And then you'll do that. We will be in room 130. I'll put that in this by the time we have. But we'll provide lunch, we'll celebrate, we'll talk about good things throughout the semester, we'll foreshadow the spring, and then, yeah, we'll give away some money because we have a proud sponsor this year. So for the winners, $250 applied towards your U of A account. If you've overpaid, fantastic, they'll send you a check. If not, it goes towards any fees or anything you own. Official certificate, a feature on our HSLopez LinkedIn, and maybe to me the most important as someone that's kind of competitive, you're going to advance to the spring where we have a huge event, 150 plus attendees, and you're going to compete. It's going to be a different format. That way you still get to participate in the event, but you'll get to compete against our MSBA Chandler cohort for the overall MSBA winner. And first and second will both get that. So it'll be 4 teams in the finals. as that kind of piece. The second place, it's very, very similar, except your certificate will say second place, runner up. You'll get $100 instead of $250. There will be other special recognitions, no money with these, but a certificate by the faculty. So this will be all judge selected, so no bias there. But then for the faculty, we'll have best infographic, best dashboard, and then best presentation, both delivery, team, and individual. All right, we're excited for this. There will be lots of opportunities for questions if you have them, but don't hesitate to reach out to myself. Dr. Catherine Jennings, Dr. Adam Molnar will be heavily involved with this. And yeah, we're looking forward to what you can come up with.